up a bit, and left, and then left, there, he's in there. Ngwenya, Darlene, you want to know what the Shangaan word for crocodile is? It's Ngwenya. The reason I went silent there was because I think that's the word, that's the Zulu word, Ngwenya, and I'm pretty sure the Shangaan word is the same. Then, just very briefly, we have got a waterbuck off to the very far front of us, coming down to drink there. It's just come out of room number 5, I think, at Chitwa, where it was luxuriating at the pool. And Safari Dean, you wanted to have a waterbuck for Valentine's Day because they have got a heart-shaped nose. Well, Safari Dean, I think we should probably try and find you a better waterbuck sighting than that one, as it makes its way back up to the minibar of whatever chalet that is. And then we've got some nyala off to the other side there, very peacefully grazing under an... Oh, that's a waterbuck, not a nyala. But it might give us... That's a much better one for you, Safari Dean. Better example. Just going to sleep. Exhausting. Now, Reese, you wondering about whether or not crocodiles will stay in the same pan that they're born in. Initially, yes, but no, they wouldn't. For example, if a female was to have a nest in a dam like this, you'd find that there would be far too many little babies to hatch in here and survive here and all set up territory, so they'd have to move off. And I don't know how they find water. I don't think anyone knows the exact mechanism. That is, of course, not a crocodile but a nyala. And what they do is sense it somehow. They sense it, they smell it, they've got some kind of, I don't know, perceptive mechanism of finding out where the water is, and they'll probably end up on the river like the Sand River and try and sort of insinuate themselves into a territory there, because this would be too small. Oh, but Magical, you clearly haven't watched my second hippopotamus drawing efforts. You are absolutely correct. The crocodile's eyes, nose, and ears are indeed aligned in much the same way that the hippopotamus's is. Hippopotamuses are. They are aligned on a straight plane, so ears, eyes and nose can come out of the water and be the only exposed piece. There's a little thing yawning. It's not the smallest one though. So you're absolutely correct. Now our plan was to go towards Cheetah Plains, which I think might still be a good idea. We'll just do a quick nip across there. We've got lots of time left on our sunset safari before the sun does actually set. So let's head across to Taylor before we lose signal. She is following up on the alarm calls. Let us hope she is very successful.
At the moment we are staring at the beautiful sky. Isn't that lovely? And I'm so happy to see the clouds because it means that it is cooling down. Now, James is quite correct. I have to remove something off the camera. Wait. Gone. It looked like a little seed of some sort. Now, we were indeed following up on these alarm calls, but we haven't heard anything more since then. We suspect it was probably an Inyala, it's being those that was down on this drainage system. And with it being a little bit windier today, often the animals can get a little bit more scared than normal. So sometimes just out of precaution, you know how you're sort of walking and you might get something might give you a bit of a fright, unnecessarily. The same thing can happen out here. And maybe just out of instinct, it gave a bark or two, but we're not sure. We're going to keep checking. But what I have found is this, and I have a question for all of you. What am I holding? I've showed you a different type of one of these before. I'll give you a little clue. I even have a rhyme about it. That should give you the answer straight away. So send in your answers, hashtag Safari Live, or send them through to questions@wildearth.tv and tell me what you think this is. This is the first time I've ever seen this particular kind of species, so it'll be interesting to try and find out which one it is exactly. So you'll come on that little adventure with me. I'll have to check a book, I suppose, but it is quite lovely and cool down here. And Herbie was actually teaching me, because one of the nice things about being with all the guides that have been working in the Northern Sams for quite a long time is that you learn about the different road networks, of course, that we drive on, and then the animal networks. And Herbert was telling me and showing me big game paths that Tingana likes to use. And you know what he's like. He's a sneaky little leopard, that one, because often he creeps onto the property, he stops to have a drink, and then he keeps going, and he doesn't stop. And we don't often find him. Normally it's just a quick sighting, and if he's got a kill, then sometimes he's kind enough to spend a couple of days with us. And actually one of those networks is that he crosses the Mulwati, he goes through, but you can't see it now, it's quite overgrown, and then he sort of goes up and over the ridge straight towards Inyala Road North, and then they do a loop and come back out towards Achele Pan again. So that's really, really interesting. Let's see what else we've got about here. We've seen lots of jumping spiders, actually. I'm trying to catch one on my hand, but they don't seem to want to be my friends today. Let's see if we've got any other spiders. Oh. Very funny, Google Plus. You're obviously a big jokester. You've said that you know exactly what this is, and you're quite correct. You've said that this is a plant. Well done to you, 100 Herbie points for guessing this is a plant. But Google Plus, we're trying to figure out exactly what plant this is. So remember, send it into hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or questions@wildearth.tv. No spiders here. Let's try another one. Actually, I think, VM, it'll be easier if we do what we did earlier. Where was I when we saw those spiders? Oh, it was on this little spike thorn. Let's have another look. I actually found the tiniest spider web, but now if I can find it again, it's going to be a completely different story. It was so small, and the jumping spider was also here, but it didn't want to play ball. Oh, there it is, yeah. In between, it's tiny. Okay, I think I'm going to have to hold the branch for you. There we go. Oh no, now the web is blowing. It might be very difficult for you to see. Let me line. Can you see that tiny red dot in the middle? Oh no, don't get stuck on this web. That is actually a very small spider. That is tiny. That is probably the size of 2 pinheads. I'm not sure if you can see it there. Can you see it, Pam? Tough one. But it's got the tiniest little web, and I don't see, it doesn't look like it's caught anything just yet, but I suspect with all the wind that we're going to have tonight as it's picking up, I'm sure the odd little midge or tiny little moth or something along those lines, maybe even a mosquito, is going to land up in between that web. Should we have another scan for this jumping spider? It had gone down here, and I'm just disappearing behind the bushes. Hello, jumping spider. Where are you? BM actually spotted it. He's got good spider eyes. Have you got a grasshopper? Ooh, I'm going to come around. And I've got the spider, VM. Okay. You have to come to me. Ooh, it's sneaky. This is a shy jumping spider. But it's in here, VM, if you come and have a look. Maybe from the top where I am. You see it on that leaf over there. Down below. It's jumped to the other side again. I don't know if we're going to... Let me try and go find it the other side. Like I said, it's a very shy... It's a shy spider. Come onto my hand so I can show everyone the trick. Now it's here. Okay. I think if we keep our distance, and you might be able to see it this way. You've got to turn your head upside down though. Can you see that bottom leaf? It's sitting on the underside of it. Can you spot it? Mm-hmm. Here we go. See if we can get it. There it is. There's the jumping spider. And I'm pretty sure it's almost exactly the same species of jumping spider that we saw earlier, the one that had another spider in its mouth. But this time, not eating anything. And I was really hoping it was going to be kind enough to sit on my hand. Now that other tiny little spider better beware, because we've realized that jumping spiders eat a variety of different things, not only insects, but also other spiders. And I wonder, VM, that grasshopper that you've just seen, I wonder if that's perhaps not what it's after. if it's planning its attack, and slowly but surely maneuvering around on the spike thorn, eventually going to capture, and this grasshopper is just on the other side, this little fella over here. They're very close to each other. Let's see if we can show you the grasshopper. There he is, just in there. Here we go. How's that? They're very, very close to each other, probably half a ruler's length away. And that jumping spider's got the most phenomenal eyesight, definitely much better than that little grasshopper. And it blends in so well, and so does this grasshopper though, and I suppose that's what its camouflage is designed to do. Hopefully that jumping spider will be able to make its way around and capture that juicy treat, because that would feast. It probably make a really, really good meal out of that grasshopper. Okay, I'm still waiting for answers about my sedge, of course. I think I just gave the answer away. I wonder if anybody heard what I said. Rebecca, did you hear? I ruined it. Good. Oh. How silly of me, but they're actually growing down here now that we're standing back over here. So I've ruined it. Here they are. So if you didn't hear me, I mumbled the first 3 letters of it. I'd said sedge, and well, I suppose that's actually the whole word here. So yes, it's a type of a sedge, and I have my famous little poem. Sedges have edges, rushes around, grasses have nodes all the way down. So I know that this is a sedge straight away just by picking it up, because it's got these very sharp triangular edges on it. So if you run your fingers up it, you can feel it quite easily that they are very sharp. So like I said, rushes are very smooth and round, and grasses, there's a grass right here, you can see, it has nodes. So you see it's not quite smooth because you get to these little parts where the leaves come out. So that's quite nice. So I'm going to take this as a souvenir because I'd like to try and find out what type of sedge it is. We know the white button sedge, which the bushmen like to use to stuff the holes that they make in the ostrich eggs to try and keep their water fresh and clean, and obviously to store it. And so I don't know what they do with this one. It'll be interesting to do a bit of research and see what it does. Maybe it does something spectacular like the white button sedge. We're going to keep on searching. Our aim is to head towards the Vuyatela Dam. I've got something that I've been wanting to show you for quite some time now. We're going to go back across to Jamie. I'm not sure what she's up to at the moment as the sun is going down, but let's go and find out.
I'm still trying to figure out what caused the alarm amongst the impala, but I have to admit I'm entertained by the thought of a sedge doing something spectacular. I'm very, very interested to see exactly what it is that sedges, well, that particular sedge does that is spectacular. Just all I can think of in my head is the guy who, one of the guides who trained me, saying sedges have edges, and drumming it into me. So now I will never ever mistake a sedge. I found the impala, the upset impala. They could not look less upset if they tried, could they, Eggsy? They were so relaxed. I'm going back towards them now. As Taylor's kind of explained to you, tracking down Sindile, it feels a little bit like needle in a haystack at this point. We just don't have any idea which way he's gone. I haven't picked up on any tracks of anything that might potentially have caused the impala to start barking like that. And I mentioned earlier that he can't be tracked on foot, and the reason is he is not habituated to people on foot at all. We could potentially find him on foot, but chances are he's going to slink away long before we've had a chance to actually see him. That's why we're lucky to work in the Sabi Sand, is generally tracking a leopard on foot can be a tricky experience. Right, Impala, did you just see each other and get a fright? Because I will be very upset if that is the case. Is that what caused all of the alarm? They look perfectly chilled out to me. Maybe it was a different herd of impala. Hello? Have you seen a spotted cat come past? Have you seen any cat come past? No? Hello, girl. Little one's a little edgy, but just because they're keeping a very close eye on us. Look at those little horns. So sweet. Just 3 months old and already growing its horns. Just poking out of the top of its head. Complete with oxpecker companion. And just behind them is a slightly fluffed up Nyala bull. He's not fully fluffed up, and he is feeding, so he's just, I think, just warning the other Nyala bull that he is bigger and stronger. They might have been dancing and just decided to abandon it. The way that Nyala bulls resolve their conflict with each other generally is to try and avoid physical confrontation. They'll actually puff themselves up. They'll lift up the fur around the edge, and they'll do a very slow dance with a high step. Well, it's basically just a slow walk, actually, around each other. And that's apparently very intimidating if you are a rival male Nyala. And generally, 90% of the time, that's actually enough to basically determine which of them is bigger, and so to avoid physical conflict and the potential for injury. Now, James, you asked for a carmine bee-eater for Valentine's Day. Those of you that keep an eye on the dam camera, the Djuma dam camera, please, I don't know, is it working actually? It is working, isn't it? It's back up and running. Keep an eye on it, because Brent, unfortunately I didn't, because, you know, obviously we yes, of course, Eggsy does our Djuma dam camera operating. Unfortunately, because obviously we don't look at our phones during drive, I just happened to check it to see the progress of our tropical storm, and I see that Brent was trying to get hold of me to tell me that there were trumpeter hornbills at the Djuma dam. Unfortunately, at 4:30. I mean, yes, at 4:30, and it's already an hour later. I've also been searching for them at the same time I've been searching for this leopard. We are foiled once again. No sign of them. They must have flown away while we were busy looking at legavans climbing trees. Trumpeter hornbill is a bird that we don't commonly see. I've never seen one on the live safaris. I've seen one here. Davy, let me try and find some Impala again so that we can answer this question properly. Davy wants to know what are the biological differences between Nyala and Impala. Not massive biological difference. They belong. Let me try and rephrase this. The antelopes of Africa are divided into different tribes, and Impala are placed in completely a tribe of their own, and the Nyala are grouped together with their evolutionary related cousins, essentially, in the form of kudu, bushbuck, and eland, and sitatunga, and bongos, but we don't get them here. So they're spiral-horned antelope. This is really tricky now. I'm trying to show you while we look at the animal rather than just me blabbering on. But there we go. There's an Nyala for you. So anatomically, Nyala, of course, are much, much bigger. That goes without saying. But for Nyala and Impala, both the males, only the males have horns, the females do not. There is a vast sexual dimorphism, though, between male and female Nyala. And for new viewers, that is spelled Nyala, Nyala. The males are large and shaggy, and darkish greyish brown, and the females are smaller and very orangey tan in colour. Whereas with the Impala, apart from the horns, there's very little physical difference between the males and the females, but there is a vast difference with male Nyala and female Nyala. Impala, Impala. Same digestive system, very similar hoof structure. Of course, Impala have those scent glands, those metatarsal scent glands on the backs of their back legs. Those the Nyala lack. And then structures of their herds as well, because of course Impala are very much social creatures. Nyala are too, but not in these massive herds. So you could see groups of 5 or 6 Nyala together. The most I've ever seen is about 20. 25, I think, was the most I've ever counted in a herd. But it's not a set herd structure, and they kind of come and go as they will. So they don't have necessarily stay together in these breeding herds or in these groups. It's a little bit of safety in numbers. Impala tend to be in more open environments, but not all that often. And the Nyala spend a bit more time in the denser vegetation. Reese, do you want to know what the common ancestor is to all of the antelope species? I confess, I have absolutely no idea. I honestly don't know. Those of you that do know, perhaps you'd be able to fill me in. Do they all come from one common ancestor, or are there, I suppose, somewhere way back there? They probably must do. But I have no idea. I really, really don't know. And I'd be very curious to know. I'd be very interested to know what the common ancestor is, but if there is a common ancestor and what it is if there is one, because I have no idea. My apologies. It's a bit before my time, give or take. Eggsy thought that was funny. Let's go back to those little leopards. I'm sure that the walking up on any leopard tracks if they were to be seen. But you don't just have to take it from me. Let's go and hear it from the lady herself.
We are creating an effect. Just have to kick the sand up. Does it look cool, VM? Do I look like those lions last night in the back line? No, that's me being silly, of course. VM says I remind him of a Franklin. I should have been flapping my arms a little. Hang on, now I'll be a Franklin. I'm just buying time because we're almost at the dam now, being a little bit silly. But yes, that's what a Franklin likes to do in animal dung, is open it up with its feet, even the guinea fowl, and of course scratch for any feeds, and of course if there's a couple of termites or insects crawling around in that, they'll probably feed on that too. No leopards, no tracks, lots of grass seeds in my shoes and my shoelaces, and I must show you something. This is not a tan. Look at that. VM, don't go too close. But look how dirty I am just from this afternoon. Isn't that lovely? It's fantastic. What? Almost got knocked out by the aerial there. So I need to get a pair of gaiters. I need to get gaiters like Brian actually has. Brian's got good ones that come up to his knees. Herbie, come, we haven't seen you. I think it's time for Herbie stories. Come, Herbie. It's time for Herbie stories, right? Come, Herbie. Come and tell us about what you found us here. You know, you like to eat it. You were telling us This is Herbie, everyone, in case you haven't met Herbert before. He is the one that's keeping us safe and protecting us from all the wild creatures out here.
Hello, everybody.
So what have you got for us, Herbie?
Balsam pear.
Okay. You're going to show... Have a look here. How cool is that? So what can you tell us about it, Herbie?
Defense mechanism being these.
Is it sharp? Should I touch it?
Yeah. Sharp.
No, I'm joking. It's not too sharp, but it is.
Anything colorful in the bush, it's a good indication of being poisonous. And being yellow like this, I know monkeys, baboons will go for each and every fruit that they find in the bush. And the fact that they don't go for these ones is an indication that this is poisonous.
Wonderful. We don't see too many of them growing around though, hey?
Yes.
They're always quite hidden in the grass, so you've got to look very carefully for this lovely plant. And there's something that I actually want to show you, which is why we're going to be heading down into the pan that has got a seed pod very similar to this. And there's quite a few of them that look the same. Hey Herbie, wild cucumber, balsam pear, and then of course the Milpita or Deuterostramonium, which has a similar seed pod. The only difference though is that it grows like a small shrub rather than creeping along the ground like this one. Should we head towards the dam? Because we're about to run out of light. The only problem, of course, with the clouds that come over is that we run out of light on bushwalk. And as you know, it's not the safest thing. But we're not far far. We're probably about 150 meters or so. So probably about maybe 160 yards, maybe just shy of that, something not too far away. VM is doing a sterling job. I don't know, VM, if I could walk backwards like you. Should we trade? Right, let's trade. I'm gonna... What have you got, Herbie?
Leopard.
Oh, okay, so here's one of the leopard tracks, and well spotted, Herbie. He's done this before.
Yeah.
He walks, you know, and this is Tingana, because I've seen him walk this exact pathway. He always comes past the DRC. He often calls on quarantine, and then he cuts through this block and he does a loop. He goes all the way around that same pathway we've said, and he comes here and he goes back, and this is him. This is a fairly big track. It's been wind blown quite a bit now, but it has, oh my goodness, almost fell over. It's been exceptionally windy this afternoon as we've come towards the end of drive. There are the toes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then of course you can see the pad here, but very, very difficult to see. And this is a very well used road, so it gets driven quite often. So there's probably a lot of dust being picked up from the vehicles. I'm going to try and walk like VM. You've got to walk as fast as I normally do though, so put the pressure on me. This is VM now with a camera and a backpack, and then he's so good how he's chasing me. So I don't know if you've ever done this before, but it's actually quite tiring and it's not the easiest thing to do, but it's amazing what these cameramen have to do. Well, we're going to very quickly, my hands have got to go the other way now. He's catching up. We're going to get to the dam very quickly. And I know James has driven really quickly all the way to Cheetah Plains. Let's go and see why he's raced on over there.
Right, here we are on Cheetah Plains, everybody, and over here I have a Waltheria bush that looks like it's been attacked by some caterpillars. David, you of course are familiar with these caterpillars after our, well, shall we say, traumatic combined parenthood of the caterpillars of our little tent. And here we have exactly the same caterpillar, which I'm going to remove from its tree and put it back later, I promise. 2 of them. Oh, they're all sorts of different sizes. Dave, can you see down here? You see this one here? He's quite big. He's about the same size as some of our very biggest ones. Then I'll put him next door to this one. Much smaller, probably about a week old. I'm very good at aging caterpillars now. There's some really big ones up here. There we go. Probably a week older than the ones we have. So these Waltherias, which, David, what was that word that we were discussing earlier? They're sequester hydrogen cyanide, that's correct, which apparently is then passed on to the adult acria. Very good. Well, may you all be happy and live long and fruitful lives here on your Waltheria bush. Don't eat too much. I can see that some of you are pigging out, as it were. Check this one. And what I find so clever about them is that they avoid eating the structural material. They don't eat the cellulose and the lignin. They leave that alone, and they only eat the good stuff. Which means they don't have to worry about digesting all that very difficult cellulose. And of course what that means is that... What does it mean? It means they don't have to have as complicated a digestive system, but it also means they have to have very complicated mouth parts in order to get only and at the non-cellular stuff. I'd like to look at that under the microscope. David, is there an animal looking at us? What is it? It's a leopard. It's a waterbuck. There we go. Oh. That is not the angle of the waterbuck we want to see on Valentine's Day. We want to see the heart-shaped schnoz. Yeah, well, let's try and find another one. So Google Plus, you say, are the caterpillars poisonous? Well, they could be, of course, because the plant sequesters hydrogen cyanide, so I'm told, and that means that when the caterpillars eat the plant, they will have some way of dealing with it, and I think the adult form will almost certainly be poisonous. I don't think that those ones are. They might be a little bit, the caterpillars, but they're very well camouflaged, and seldom are well camouflaged caterpillars and butterflies, adults, well camouflaged. They're often very brightly colored in order to say to the predators, don't eat us, and those things are very well camouflaged, so I don't think that they're necessarily toxic. I think something probably happens in the pupa when they are turning into butterflies, and they'll become, we think, something called a dancing acria. Once they've become the dancing acria, then they are almost certainly toxic to a certain extent. I don't know to exactly what extent. Right, we're coming out into the clearings, and I must tell you that the wind is howling. Well, it's blowing stiffly from the southeast as this... Oh, David, I don't believe what I've spotted. A very rare sighting these days. Beefalo. Hello, beefies. Where have you been? That's very nice. I'm sure you can hear the wind blowing now. You can see it rippling across that great water body that is Cheetah Plains Pan. And a lovely buffalo action there, of course, in the water, soiling the water in which the rest of the herd must now drink. Now, this is a very small herd of bulls and cows at the back there lying out of the water. And we had a wonderfully fascinating discussion, on drive this morning. Well, I was on walk. About whether or not, good grief, they just can't stop going to the loo. What is wrong with them all? We didn't have a discussion about that on the walk this morning. We had a discussion about whether or not animals are able to tell when heavy weather is coming in. And you all gave some wonderful examples, and Herbie gave the example of millipedes climbing up into trees. Wildebeest gave, Liam gave the example of a leopard tortoise that he and his parents used to have in their garden in Centurion, Pretoria, that used to come inside hours before the sky turned grey and started to thunder and lightning. David, don't laugh, it's true. And I spoke about... what did I speak? I didn't have any good examples, in fact. I did. I said, well, of course, the wildebeest migrate in relation to extreme weather. We know the elephants of Southeast Asia during the great tsunami of 2003 and 4, they moved inland when that happened. So it's quite interesting to find these buffalo here, and perhaps to ponder why it is that suddenly they're back here. What do they know that we don't? Now, Anna, this is a very nice question, because it gives rise to a huge topic of discussion. And the question is asked of these animals, and it is asked often of zebra. And your question is, have they ever been domesticated? The answer is a little bit, but only as youngsters. Once they get to adulthood, they show what I like to term a disturbing propensity to homicide. In other words, they will try and kill you because they don't like people, because they see us as predators. Now, the point of that story is that they see us as predators because they evolved here in Africa with us over the course of many millions of years, and so they associate us with danger. Now, the original ancestor of what we call cattle these days was something called an auroch. And the auroch evolved in the Middle East without people and didn't see us as a threat, and therefore when it came across human beings who were starting agriculture out there in the Fertile Crescent of the Middle East, circa sort of 10,000 years ago. Oh my goodness, it's all happening out here. I don't know what to say about that, David. I've always found the sight of a buffalo in the state of excitement and agitation slightly embarrassing. I don't know why. Anyway, let's carry on with our story. That is it's quite something. So the auroch was not disturbed by human beings and was imminently domesticatable because it didn't try and kill us. And so what happened, David, it's not that funny. So what happened was that when our human ancestors started to have agriculture 10,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent, they were able to domesticate the auroch. And the auroch then ploughed fields for them. It pulled a plough, it gave them milk, and it gave them meat in a ready sort of, in an easily available form, which meant that people could become sedentary. So it made a huge difference to how many people could live in a certain area. Now, if you come back down to Africa at the same time, you didn't have that. You had these buffalo, which, although they produce good milk, they produce very good meat, are very powerful, so they could have been draft animals if they could have been. They just, because of their evolution with us, are terrified by us and therefore don't like us at all, and you cannot domesticate them. The same goes for horses, and that's why zebras have probably never been domesticated. And so it's a very interesting story, that, and we reckon, I bang on about this book a lot, one of the best books I've ever read, called Guns, Germs and Steel by Jared Diamond, and he describes how he sets about in that book to describe why some parts of the world are more developed than others, and how it's largely an accident of history that Europeans came to Africa rather than Africans went to Europe and, Americas or wherever else it was, and that's largely because there couldn't be great numbers of people out here, and there couldn't be great numbers of people in Africa because of diseases and because we didn't have domesticatable animals or domesticatable plant species. It's all rather fascinating. Preet, this is also quite a sort of controversial subject, and I quite like it too. It's about zoos. So if you don't mind, we're going to carry on driving because we're heading towards Buffalo Pan, where we were hoping for some elephants, but I think it's probably cooled down enough. This is very interesting. We've had an update that Vutomi has made a kill. Where, Rebecca? I lost you as I went up there. Kudu Corner. I'm afraid we cannot go to Kudu Corner, Rebecca. That is in Nkoro. That's very nice that young Vutomi has managed to do that. I don't know what he's killed. So, Crete, Rebecca, I will not have comms now until I go around the next corner, just to make you aware. What was Crete's question again? Come on. Unbelievable. Zoos, that's right, okay. All I got was zoo. That's all I needed. Crete, I think that zoos actually play a massively, massively important role in animal conservation. I know that for many years they have not necessarily, or some zoos have kept animals in abject cruelty in some places, and in others just, not enough space and with the wrong conditions, and I know that has led to a huge movement against their existence, and I understand that completely, and I think it's valid. But I do think that zoos play a hugely important research role. I think that they expose people, for the Johannesburg Zoo is a very good example. It exposes people to creatures that they wouldn't see in the wild. South Africa is a massively poor country. 90% of the animals, of the people in this country, have never seen a lion before. They've never seen an elephant. They've never seen a rhino or a hippo or a wildebeest like the one coming up here. And the only way that they will ever be exposed to these creatures and therefore enthused about conservation would be either through watching something like this, I suppose, or by going to zoos. And I think that is a hugely important role they play. So yes, while I find the thought of cubs being born in a zoo and never sort of roaming the plains, as it were, quite difficult to cope with, I do think that it is the lesser of two evils. Far better that a few cubs are born in captivity. They never know the difference between, of course, living out here and living in a zoo. as long as they're not mistreated at all. I think that their life in captivity plays a huge role for the longevity of their species as a whole, as long as they're kept in a humane fashion. Now, of course, we could debate what's humane and what isn't for the next decade, but I do think that they play a very valuable role in the right circumstances. Hello, Norman. Brent says hi. He says happy Valentine's Day. He gave me flowers today. It was very sweet of him. I had to hug him live. It was quite embarrassing, really. So you can go and hug your friend. Go on then. That's it. They always look so utterly surprised. Alright, Rebecca, you should be able to talk to us again here. Yes, I can hear you again. Your dulcet tones fill my ears. Rebecca, everybody, today is wearing a very bright red dress in honour, I think, of St. Valentine's Day. Why she was wearing a red dress in honour of the bubonic plague, I'm not sure. Quite interesting, on the subject of the plague, we saw somebody with a hat on Game Drive earlier today. The hat looked like it had the bubonic plague. It was the worst hat I've ever seen. It might just be because I'm not much of a fashionista, though. Okay, we're approaching Buff Pan now. I'm quite excited to get here, hoping for some more elephant action. Sorry, my face is pulling strange faces because Hannah's question is interesting. I think I got it correctly, Rebecca. You are breaking up a bit now. Hannah's question is, will animals living in zoos eventually evolve adaptations to living in captivity? Is that correct? I just got... I'm going to say yes, it is correct. Hannah, it's highly unlikely. And it's highly unlikely because the evolution through random mutation or natural selection takes a long, long time. And of course, zoos have been around probably for the last 150 years or so, maybe 200 years. And there is no free flow of genes between different animals. There is a baboon. Oh, there are a whole lot of them on the wall. They're having a wonderful time. Sundowners at the dam. Oh, that's brilliant. So, Hannah, to give you a short answer, no. Now, I could go into a long discussion on how the mechanism of evolution by natural selection works, but I think that would take a bit too much time and possibly be a bit complicated for what we want to say. The answer is no, not really. There simply isn't efficient time or free flow of genes. It's a nice question, though. It's a nice thought. That baboon, to get baboons like this is the best, because they are going to do things entertaining. They're going to begin playing with each other, scratching each other, beating each other. Sometimes they do a bit more than that to each other. You know, they sort of get in with the Valentine spirit of things, but they do that every day. They're hugely entertaining, and they just look so human when they look like that, don't they? And what he's doing, I think he's eating marula fruits out of the elephant dung. I wonder if their jaws are powerful enough to crack those nuts. Surely not. There might be, you know. They probably are. They've got very powerful jaws. Their jaws are probably powerful enough to crack a marula nut. Nice little scratch under the arm there. Suck on the dung-flavoured marula nut. I think it's so interesting also that clearly they have evolved the ability to understand that the nut inside that very hard casing is good for them. It tastes good. But it's so inaccessible. and yet they'll make the effort to try and find it. There we go, look a bit more. That's a sort of subdominant male. He's big, but he's not big enough yet to sort of hold sway within the hierarchy, and so he'll stay sort of on the fringes. Ooh. He didn't fancy her too much, did he? Now, Chris, you're a new viewer and wondering if the baboons will jump onto our vehicles if we get too close. Chris, it's quite the opposite out here. And it's because they have not been fed, they don't have an experience of human beings that is a positive one. They are very nervous of people, and so they do not come jumping onto the vehicles. They only do that, I'm just going to go around the other side here. They only do that, Chris, where they've been fed or where they've lost their fear of human beings, and that's largely because human beings have either left food out or they've physically fed them. And that is the most dangerous thing you can do for a human being or for a baboon. The baboon will inevitably have to be destroyed if it does that, because it becomes dangerous. I mean, you saw those teeth. Those canines are bigger than a leopard's canines. So that's dangerous. And then, of course, an angry male baboon, if it wants something from you and you don't give it to you and it's not scared to you, it will try and take it from you. And then things can get very nasty. I didn't get that, Rebecca, I'm afraid. Try once more. No, waste of time. Putting my phone on. We do have a slight issue with communications in this particular area. Now, remember we were talking about the weaver birds and little, what was her name in South Wales? Oh, there's one. There's a nice male there. There we go. There's a female weaver. Female spotted-backed or village weaver. Who was our little 7-year-old in South Wales? Do you remember, David?
No.
Isabella in South Wales. You wanted to know which birds have their Valentine's Day round about now. Well, here they are. These are the weavers that I was talking about. Now we have a question from Sea Alien. Other than animals displaying animals, do you think that zoos provide much of a service to the animals themselves? Yes, I do. Indeed, Sea Alien. I think what they do is that through their research and through their demonstration of animals to people, I think that they do a huge amount of help for their species. For the actual individuals in captivity, I think half the time they don't know the difference because they've never lived in the wild. Oh, look at that scene at the end there. There's a mother with a little baby. She was picking it up and kind of lifting it above her shoulders, almost playing with it. That was very sweet. And then here's a baboon who hasn't realized we've got quite close to him. See this guy here, Dave, in front of us? He's quite brazen. Okay, well, as that baboon disappears into the grass, we are going to head straight across to the royal family.
The royal family completed, because look who has just arrived and come to fetch her 2 cubs. Karula once again proving what a fantastic mum she is. Also, she looks smaller than Hosanna now. There's Karula on the right, there's Hosanna. Okay, not quite. He's still got an inch or 2 to grow before he's her size, but it's close. There's little Shongile trotting along behind him. It was so funny earlier. She fell out of a tree and Hosanna pulled her out. She was trying to dangle and reclaim her dignity, and he just went for her and pulled her out of the tree. It was utterly, utterly beguiling. Okay, you lot, let's catch up. I got a little bit caught up and thrown behind because I had to collect a pile of Hosanna's scat. It was in the middle of the road, so finally we've got both cubs. I got a nasty surprise because I thought that this vial was empty. It wasn't. So hence why it is now in a Ziploc bag. What was I going to say? Oh yes, the reason that we do that is so that we can pass it on to Panthera, and they will then in turn, bouncing all over the place, they will then in turn use it to analyze the DNA of the leopard that deposited the scat, and particularly with the hope of determining paternity of the leopard cubs. And what I'm really curious to find out, when we do start to see results from that study, and it's a big study, it's not just about Karula and her cubs, it's focused on many different leopards. Can you imagine how interesting it would be to find out if it's possible for cubs to have two different fathers? That's what I'm fascinated by. Did a drongo just mob her? I think so. Sorry, I'm making sure I don't drive too much up their tails, just so that they don't feel pressured. Let's just get around this corner. Keeping Eggsy working hard as we roll along. How sweet is this? 3 leopard bottoms, all marching along. Oh! Bat! That's what all the alarm calls was about. It was Karula herself, coming back to fetch the little ones. Or the not so little ones anymore. There's the drongo. I think it is quite upset at their presence. Okay, but drongos are like that. Fork-tailed drongos are not afraid of anything. They mob large aerial predators. They went for Karula now. Well, this one went for Karula now. Oh. And I'm sure those Impala spotted Karula. I wonder where she is on her way to now. And of course you must have heard from James the wonderful news about Vutomi. And the fact that he managed to catch himself an Impala. I'm so excited for him. Vutomi is a young male leopard. He's fathered. His mother is in Kanyeni. So she's off to the east around Cheetah Plains, and he's been on his own for ages. So it's really, really good news. What you doing, mister? I can't get too close to your mom and your sister if you... There we go. Our Painted Wolf, lovely name by the way, Painted Wolf. Painted Wolf, you want to know what year they will release the DNA study? I'm not sure, I'm afraid. I'm not in the position to answer that. As with any of these sorts of studies, it could well take a few years before we start to see the results. And of course, they'll be published in the academic world first before we have access to them. So I can't give you the answer. It is a huge study that's being done, and it might take years to process all of the information from the DNA of the leopard scat. Yes, little monster. What you doing? We've spoken before about the enmity between baboons and leopards. Let's go and have a look at a very tiny baboon.
This is a wonderful sighting, everybody. We're having such fun here. That was some strange behavior. And what they're doing is they're actually being so completely confiding that they're starting to go to roost, but just above our heads. The little baby's playing there. The rest of the youngsters are sort of playing on the ground, but up above us. There is a big chap in there. There he is, and that's in a knobthorn tree, so it's not comfortable to sit in. And then off to the right-hand side, there are 3 others. And that's how they will sleep. See? So tired. And look at those huge teeth. Massive teeth. They're all starting to go up into the trees. Then off to the left there, Dave. The big one up there, big tree there. To the left of that one. Oh, they're in there as well, but then in there. Now, Tula Ann, you're just 4, and you say, why do they not like people? Is that the correct question? Tula Ann, they don't like people because people ain't so nice to them. Rebecca, you'll have to do that again. I've obviously completely misheard you. You're going up the tree in front of us, Dave? Why do they not like females or girls? Tulan, it's not that they don't like females or girls. It's just that they know the difference between men and women, and they think men are a bit more scary than women. So they actually prefer girls, in actual fact. This is fantastic. They are so comfortable with us. Now they'll have a little bit of a fight. Always a bit of a fight before sleeping. Just like children. They're all going up into these trees. Yes, and Anita, that's precisely what they're doing. You say, will a baboon stay in the trees all night long? Definitely. They don't want to be anywhere else because they are safe from things like the leopards, which Jamie was telling you about. I mean, Karula wouldn't go for one of these guys. They're a bit big and a bit scary, but a young male like Quarantine, who lives around here, certainly would. Vutomi is probably a little bit young still. But Shivambarana, who also lives in these environs, might have a go. Young male leopards in this area tend to be the greatest threat to baboons. Oh, this is wonderful. I can't remember the last time I had a baboon sighting like this. And they look so uncomfortable. They've climbed the most uncomfortable trees, I think. They've got nasty thorns in them. Some of them have gone up into a jackalberry and a leadwood tree just in front of us. That's just great. And the ease with which they pull themselves up into the trees, it just astounds me. There's no effort to it. It's like they're walking along the ground. Now, I'm not going to drive past them because I think that's going to give them a fright and cause them to come speeding out of the trees and then kind of regroup as a troop. So when we leave here, I'll just turn around and go back the other way. And in the background you can hear all the weavers calling. Right, well, all of this lot are very comfortably ensconced in their troop, their little family units all going to bed. Unfortunately for the nocturnal animals like Shongile, family seems to be a tough thing to maintain.
Oh, poor little Shongile. Come back, silly girl. You silly little thing. No, they're right here, girl. Oh, shame she lost them. We were on the dam, or they were on the dam wall, and she went down off the other side. And she didn't realize that Mom and Brother had gone for a drink. They're right here. And her body language got so frantic and desperate. And she started calling. Ow! Ow! Calling. And Karula was distracted because Hosana was bonking him on the head. And she just didn't see them. Admittedly, it wasn't the brightest move because, I mean, she just could have checked over the wall of the dam. A shame. She was sitting there all frantically looking backwards and forwards and looking thoroughly confused and terrified. She's now run all the way along that road. I actually don't want to move for now, in the hope that Karula will call her or that she'll hear her. So we will follow a little bit, but as soon as I see any sign of Karula calling, then I'm going to switch off the engine immediately. Shame. Poor little thing. Silly little girl. She looked like a lost child in a supermarket. You can see the way she was trotting off there, frantic to find them again. She could have just sat there. She would have found them. Oh, you silly little monkey. we have a special Valentine's Day surprise for you. Let's go to James.
There we go, everybody. Carmine Bee Eaters. James Richard, your Valentine's wish comes true. Isn't that cool? A youngster and an adult lying close together because the wind's probably making them feel a little bit cold. And there's a whole great big flock of them in this weeping bourbean tree. Lots of them. And in fact, yeah, no, it's the same one. I thought there might be a European one there as well, but they're all carmine. Each of them seems to be with, it's quite interesting actually, they were either with an adult and a youngster together. I just want to quickly check my bird app. Baboons shouting at each other. Yeah, it's just I thought maybe they were couples, but they're not. There's juveniles and adults. Fantastic. And of course they arrive here sort of August to September and go away again in March and April. The few birds remaining in the winter. And Beard, you say they look like Valentine's cards. Well, you and James Richard would probably share that sentiment, which they do a bit, don't they? That baboon troop is moving off now. I'm just keeping an eye on them because there's a little bit of alarm calling going on. It's not particularly vociferous. No, I don't think they're alarming. Alrighty, we'll carry on now, and we can go back to the royal family while we do that.
Everybody can breathe a sigh of relief. Shongile found her mummy once more. The panic is over. She tried to affect a completely unconcerned air. Now she's doing it again. Silly little thing. She tried to affect a completely unconcerned air, but you could see she was frightened for a little bit. Not frightened. I mean, it must happen regularly. She was disconcerted. What? Karula? What are you doing? Scent marking. Oh, that's not Karula. That's her little boy. So where's Karula gone? How did she do that? There's Shongile, there's Hosanna, there's Karula. Don't ask me how she did that. I've always thought that Karula's got portals. I think we're on our way to a kill. That would be my I think that's a relatively sound assessment. She's come to fetch them. Come on, off you go. Catch up. Catch up. Yes, you silly thing. She was making the sweetest contact calls. Sort of a sound. That was kind of accurate, wasn't it, Eggs? Sort of? Thank you. Usually my leopard imitations are pretty awful, but that one was spot on. So we're going to try and keep with her just to where she leads us to the kill. Obviously it's starting to get a bit dark now, and if the kill is on the ground, then we'll immediately leave. We don't want to spotlight them while the kill is on the ground, because there's always the chance that it could attract hyenas, which we definitely don't want. But we are just going to try and stick with her until she gets there, just so that we know where she is tomorrow morning. Be a beautiful way to start our sunrise safari. I'm going to guess. Shall we take bets on where she's going? I'm going to guess she's going to Inge's house. I think she's going to go right outside somewhere around there. That's why those Impala were so upset. Where's he gone now? He's just ducked down there. He is dashing to catch up. We must do the same. Karula leaving us behind with her steady stride. There was no affectionate reunion, by the way. Shungile tried to, she's stalking her brother. Shungile tried to pretend like she'd meant it all along, and then her brother tackled her, shoved her onto the ground, and that was that. Karula just walking around them. Be gentle with her, Hosanna. She's had a long, hard day. She's thin, and she's providing you with food. Lorraine, you want to know when we will be able to view Shadow's babies again? Very, very soon, Lorraine. They're at the right age. It is, whenever you have a situation like this with leopard cubs, it's always very important to be as sensitive as possible with them. So it'll probably be in the next week or so that they will be at the age, but the decision on when you can view a leopard cub is taken by the head guide of the reserve that you're on. In that case, it is not Djuma. So that will be a decision that they will make, and rightly so. They will be constantly assessing the den situation, and of course we don't want to in any way impact or sabotage Shadow's running leopards. Where are we all running to? Oh, never mind. No panicking. So I would say it's going to be very soon, Lorraine. Watch the space. But they're about the same age as, they must be, oh look at this little one. They're about the same age as when we started viewing Karula's cubs. Testicula's alarm calling. So for anybody that has missed out on the past few safaris, James got to see Shadow's brand new weeks old cubs. We think they're about, I actually think they're about 7 weeks old, close to 8 weeks old. And it's a very, very exciting prospect. It's always special to see little leopard cubs. They are such gorgeous creatures. You are so naughty. This is how you get left behind. And then you wonder why you get lost. Little mischief. In hindsight, Zander, I could definitely have used a smaller bag for this cat. Oh well, it's done now. Sorry, I'm just trying to quickly untangle my spotlight. You can hear the testiculars calling. There we go. Sorry, let's catch up with them. Shmama, yes, all big cats carry intestinal worms and parasites. Their stomachs are not pleasant places. They carry all sorts of parasites in their saliva as well, which is why if you do end up working on a darted animal or an anesthetized animal, you'll find that you don't touch the saliva with ungloved hands, you don't let them dribble on any open cuts or anything like that. It's very dangerous, and you will very seldom find the vomit of a big cat that doesn't contain parasites. So yes, all big cats do have intestinal parasites. Hence why I had a great reluctance to touch the scat with my bare hands. I didn't have to, luckily. Okay, you two. Or three. Sorry, it's just easier for me to drive off-road with the spotlight off. Okay, so the fact that she's gone off the road immediately tells us that this kill is probably in this block. And the reason that I say that is generally what I've noticed with Karula, and we've spoken about it with all big cats. They walk on roads. When they are determined to get somewhere, they will walk on a road. It makes total sense. Now you're wandering off, mister. This is not a nice block. I'm going to have to go the same way Hosanna did. So generally what I've noticed with Karula is, whilst she bobs and weaves when she's hunting, when she comes back to fetch the little ones, the not so little ones, she will invariably walk all the way along the roads. She walks the most direct route between where they are and her kill. I'm I'm going to keep up with them, but let's send you across to James while I concentrate on off-roading.
Right, we're driving along the southern boundary of Cheetah Plains, everybody, where the planes have been found and left. We think there might be a cheetah sighting on the go in Mala Mala. We looked, 3 vehicles there, miles away, so that's good news. Perhaps those cheetah are coming back north, and we'll have them here tomorrow morning. Who knows? Who can tell? We're now on our way back towards the north and towards the west, to where Djuma awaits us with open arms. And certainly the weather is windy. It is suggestive of some kind of precipitation time soon. And that will be very exciting indeed. There are all sorts of massive rain plans in place for the inevitable arrival of this great deluge, the great cyclone that is supposed to hit us fairly soon. People are filling sandbags. We've been told to perhaps take the tent down completely in case the cyclone lifts it and just carries with it to the Drakensberg Mountains. Trench digging around the various repeater stations, etc. It's all rather intimidating for what I suspect is going to be, well, a very slightly wet squib. Take our first road that we can towards the north. So we haven't managed to find anything of great consequence after those baboons. That was a wonderful sighting. That was the best baboon sighting I've had since I was here. That's not a road. That is a drainage. So we'll keep looking about the place. See what perhaps nocturnal animals we can find. I'll put the lights on. There we go. It's not making a huge difference at this stage. Do I have a spotlight? Yes, I do. This particular part of the boundary seems to be a little bit animal-free at the moment. Don't worry, shortly Jamie will be through the block and with those wonderful leopards. And of course we are now going to go to the realm of time where we will be having night drives. So up until around about now, of course, we've hardly used the spotlights because there hasn't been any need. Let's just look at this pan and see if we can't see a froggy or two. Of course the froggies will be very excited if we get a lot of rain. There is no even froggy singing, so I don't think they're expecting any rain today. Frogs normally like to give a bit of a sing-song before rains come. Chirrup, chirrup as they go. Buzz, buzz. Bzz, bzz. You know, sort of thing. Now, Larry, this is a very interesting question, and the answer is no. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave it there. You said if some of the animals were killed by the storm that came through here, would I consider it natural selection? Well, no, I mean, I say no. I suppose maybe. Natural selection, of course, is going to act on animals that are the least best adapted or the least well adapted to the environment in which they find themselves. If there is perhaps a genetic line of Impala, for example, that is unable to deal with cold as well as some other genetic line of Impala, then yes, I suppose they would be selected against in a very harsh stormy event. But that not necessarily selecting for the strongest, because of course a cyclone event is extremely rare, so it might actually take out some of the stronger genes that are better adapted to drier times. So I suppose you might consider it an event that would drive some form of natural selection, but I think a rare event that is not entirely out of the normal in an area like this would be unlikely to create huge selective pressure. Because cyclones, of course, have come through these areas from time to time for millennia. Well, that's a very nice thought. You would normally need, Larry, something that was a longer term change. So climate change, for example, could easily drive natural selection. A heating up of the earth and a drying up of this area will select for animals that are able to cope with drought. Now, within a species itself, if there is some kind of random genetic mutation that allows an impala to not need as much water as the impala that lives next to it, well, then that impala's genetic line will be perpetuated more successfully in dry times than other impalas that don't have that genetic mutation. So a heating climate and drying climate could certainly drive selection towards impalas that were better able to cope with that. But I think a almost random cyclonic event, probably not, no. And Google Plus, I mean, this is a difficult answer. You say, what would I consider the least well-adapted animal out here? I think there are two of which are very lucky not to be extinct. The one is the white rhino, the other is the cheetah. The cheetah is over-specialized. It is a poor competitor when it comes to fighting off prey and kills, fighting off competitors for prey. And it is dominated by just about every other animal out here. It just doesn't have the build to fight. It has the virtual fight with itself sometimes, but they don't have the build to fight off other animals. And of course they are over-specialized for speed, which means that they have a fairly narrow trophic niche. They can't eat the same variety of creatures that something like a leopard can eat. They don't catch other predators. They don't fish like a leopard does. They probably don't eat a great deal in the way of reptiles and that sort of thing. So they would largely have to have an open area with small to medium-sized antelope in it. Otherwise they don't eat. So I think they're very over-specialized for this environment. But there is obviously a niche that caters to that specific need. So are they poorly adapted? No. Is the niche very narrow and therefore only supports a small number of them? Yes. Is that niche likely to disappear and therefore cause an extinction event? Well, quite possibly. Now remember, all cheetahs are probably related to one female that birthed the entire population of cheetah that we have now, and that means that they've been poorly adapted for some time and were nearly wiped out by an environmental event some time back. In terms of rhino, I just think that they're probably not particularly effective competitors. But thinking about it now, if they're not harassed, rhino will thrive. They do very well. So I'm going to say cheetah. Nice question, Google Plus. I'm sure that's a trademark. I'm not sure you're allowed to use that, but well done for getting one over on the man. Right, I'm talking absolute nonsense now, but Jamie, who never talks nonsense, is now, well, still on the hunt. I'm not sure she's managed to find the royal family yet.
I'm pretty sure I sprout equal amounts of nonsense at times, but thank you to James for that compliment. I have bad news. I'm really sorry. I lost them. It was dark, it was thick, I couldn't see them. I didn't want to follow too closely behind because I can't see properly in the dense vegetation. And they... Whoa! Goodness, there was a hole. There we go, eggs. You still on the back there? They gave me the slip. They dashed off into some really, really thick monkey orange, and to make matters worse, it was pitted with warthog burrows and aardvark burrows, and there was just no way we could keep up with them. So I suppose this is a good place to start for tomorrow morning's sunrise safari. Hopefully she's still around. Hopefully it's quite a large kill and we can find her here. Otherwise, if we come back, it gives us a good place to start looking for tracks. Phew, we're out. Finally. It took me a while to find the road. Reese, you want to know how long the animals have been using the game parks for? Did I hear that right, Rebecca? Game paths. Game paths. Well, that's an interesting one. Game paths change, I think, depending upon whether or not there is a large tree in the way. Elephants will shape them because at times they might push a tree over a game path. So as long as there's been land and animals here, the animals would be utilizing the easiest way to water, but that might mean that it changes every now and again. Oh, goodness. So it might be that a flood could completely disrupt the game path, as I know you were talking about that possibility with James. So a flood could completely disrupt the natural paths that have been created by the regular passage of game, and then it will change, it will move. But I couldn't give you an exact time period as long as there have been animals on this reserve, which is a very, very long time. I just want to check carefully that she hasn't popped out here. I have to say, I'm starting to get more and more cynical about, I mean, I know there's a tropical storm developing, it's been given a name and everything, but I'm not sure it's going to affect us. I mean, obviously better safe than sorry, but I think we're only going to get we might get a bit of rain, but I don't think it's going to be to the same extent we expected it to be. Now, Larry, you want to know if we can put out a rain gauge to just see how much rain falls? Absolutely. Well, we've actually got one. We have a full-on weather station that will record how much rain actually falls. I suspect we're probably going to look at about 50 mils rather than something like 200, and that's good news. I don't know, you know what I'm like with predicting weather, but that is better news than 200 mils in one day, because it means that the topsoil isn't washed away, animals aren't injured. It's just a much more moderate amount of water. I wonder if she's in that tree, Eggsy. It's just a gut feel. Let's just check. That's probably not. Probably nothing. No, she wouldn't be. She wouldn't have walked that road. She wouldn't have taken that route if she were in that tree. I know it's one of her loved trees, but no. But we'll see. It's meant to start affecting us from Thursday, which is 2 days from now, so we'll see. I think the storm that's building up behind us is just a storm. It's just a summer storm. Hopefully it comes with some rain and a bit of a drop in temperature. But it's been threatening like this every single day of the week. So I'm not convinced that it's going to rain upon us. Okay, let me just pull the thorns out of my legs and my seat. And possibly Eggsy. Are you surviving back there, Eggsy? Good. And the next question is, are all 4 tires intact? Because I drove through a zebra wood thicket. How are they on that side? All good? Wonderful. I'm sure Brent would be terribly unimpressed if I left him with flat tires in the morning. Pardon? He didn't give me flowers, that is true. In fact, let's go back. Let's go back to the zebra wood thicket and drive over it repeatedly. Eggsy's right. Revenge. No, I'm joking. Sorry, I've just realized I didn't call that in. Our stations for tomorrow morning followed Karula and Mapimpans into the block south of Chelepan Road, so between Weaver's Nest and Twin Dams. I've lost her somewhere in that block, but I'm sure she's got a kill in there. Sorry, just updating the other guides so that hopefully we have some help tomorrow. Hey Sabrina! That is amazing! Sabrina, it's lovely to hear from you. Sabrina's 13 and she's been a regular viewer and has become really, really involved in our Safari Live life and part of the Wild Earth family. And Sabrina, that is a really lovely message. Thank you. So FC did pass it along. I hear that Sabrina is going on safari with her parents in summer. It was her Christmas present. I'm so excited for you, Sabrina. I'm not sure where exactly you're going. Please let me know where exactly in the world you're going to be. You know you can always contact me through Final Control or directly. And Sabrina, I'd love to hear which part of the country or which part of the continent you're going to be on, because there's always a chance that we could actually get to meet you and find out a little bit more about your travels. That would be really, really exciting. So do let me know, Sabrina. That's wonderful. That's put a big smile on my face. I'm really happy for you. So exciting. Sabrina's first safari. I hope you see everything. I hope you see absolutely everything. I hope we see everything too. Anything actually would be ideal. Bush baby. I haven't seen a bush baby in, I was about to say yonks. Is yonks a South Africanism? I haven't seen a bush baby in yonks. Rebecca's just requested in somewhat urgent tones that I find her a bush baby. Rebecca, is yonks South Africanism? Can't be. Eggsy?
I've never heard that word.
You've never heard that word, okay. Fair enough. Well, if Eggsy hasn't heard that word, then maybe it's not. I sometimes get confused between South Africanisms and just words that are commonly used. Yonks apparently comes from the expression donkey's ears, which is obviously not a South Africanism, that's English. Thank you very much, Rebecca. It was just after that monkey's wedding conversation. I thought perhaps I'd better be more careful about the words that I use at times. Because the monkey's wedding, we spoke about a couple of mornings ago, is the South African term for when it rains but it's sunny. Alright, Karula, enjoy your, I hope Karula gets to eat some of her meal, and we'll have to go back in search of her tomorrow morning when it's not dark and impossible, and somebody else could take the blame for the damage done to the vehicle. Rusty did some interesting off-roading there. Now Impala's gathering on the open area of quarantine for the evening. It looks as though with these clouds it's going to be a dark and windy and quite scary evening for them, and generally on these sorts of nights they always come and sleep either right outside our house at Inger's or on the open area just a little bit to the west of that. Rebecca, I can't find you a bush baby. I haven't seen a bush baby in forever. I must be in the wrong place because they're not here. Ooh. Some ominous rattling happening below me. I'm just going to ignore it. That's tomorrow's problem. Alrighty, time to say farewell to you all. James has found some signal again, so a big thank you to Zander and a big thank you to all of you. I'll catch you on the sunrise safari. I'm going to send you across to James for the last few seconds.
That's all we found actually, everybody, some signal. I did find I don't know why I'm going so fast, I can slow down now. We did find a scrub here, unfortunately it ran away. Rob, you say, who out of the Safari Live crew received the most cards today? Well, we're all about to see one card each. I don't know if this has been explained to you, but Rebecca and Kirsten came up with the idea of everybody having to write something nice about somebody else in camp, randomly chosen out of a hat, and then you have to deliver that message somehow to them during the course of How's it? Hi guys.
How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you? Good, that's great. Sorry, we're just about to finish off the show. I'm so sorry. Cool. Cheers guys. Bye. Sorry about that, everybody. Time to say farewell, but obviously James disappeared, and of course I was busy talking to someone as that happened. Fantastic time. Fantastic timing. Right, we could do a proper goodbye. So, a big thank you, drum roll, to Rebecca Christensen and Kirsty McLennan Smith in final control. And a big thank you to our behind-the-scenes tech team, and a big thank you to Karula and her cubs, and a big thank you to all of you for joining us, for sending through your questions and comments. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you are having a fantastic time with your loved ones.